Hi everyone, Diane here, welcome to my studio. Today I am going to paint something for a little bit of relaxation and warming up. You know how it is sometimes if you want to do something special and you start on it and it doesn't really work out. Often the best thing I find to do is to do something that you don't think matters, and quite often it turns out to be the best thing you've ever painted. Well, you know what I mean. So first of all, I just want to quickly tell you what I've been up to in terms of painting just recently. I made myself this little sketchbook. I was lucky to be given a whole load of paper when somebody who used to be an artist left the planet, and so I'm trying to use that all up. So I don't buy many sketchbooks. I do buy some, or sometimes I get given them, but on the whole what I tend to do is I cut my paper into a convenient size. This is one particular size that you could use, and then I invested in a long arm stapler, and then I simply staple in the middle and where the fold is, and Bob's your uncle, you have a book. And I make lots of these. This is for winter 2023. After Christmas I will have another one, the reason I'm talking about this is because somebody asked me to show them what I did, how I made them, and it's really easy. So all you need is a long arm stapler, and here's another one that I did for autumn. And I quite like to just paint a really simple cover so that I've got something to remind myself of what's inside it. And then this is when I was just coming down with COVID when I did these. I think I felt like I wanted to fly away, and this was a design that I contemplated doing a tutorial for but never have. That's one that did make it onto YouTube, as did this one. This is all my practice work, you see, and this one also I thought you just might vaguely be interested. This would make a good background for something if you were designing, I don't know, table mats or something like that. This is another one I've been thinking about doing and I haven't yet done. So many things, and this one too. I don't really need to do a tutorial of this. You can see that, can't you? And you could make that up for yourself. You don't need to watch me do it. But it's quite sweet, isn't it? Don't know where I came up with that from. This is another ball and another one of them. And this is where I was practicing the Christmas cactus. This is another wreath type of idea. It's a bit more autumnal. I really like this technique that I use quite a lot, and I was going to use that today, but I'm not quite sure whether I will or not yet. It all depends. There's the prototype for the dove, the piece on a dove. Anyway, so just in case you're interested to know what goes on in the studio when you're not here. So this one has got in it some notes on the Star of Bethlehem, prototype of the dream catcher. I've been having the most ridiculous dreams since I did that dream catcher. I don't know whether it's that or what it is, but I've been dreaming about lots of people from my past. Yes. So this is the beginning of the idea that we're going to do today. That was my first attempt. This is my second attempt, and I've written lines from Christmas carols all over it. I don't know quite why. And this is where I am at the moment. And I'm going to have a go at doing this because the reason being, I think this would be a really nice warm-up. So we will use the famous watercolor paper from MEEDEN, and I'm going to use a gold pen. This is a Uniball gold gel pen. I'm going to use a black fine liner. This is 0.1, so a very fine Winsor & Newton fine liner pen. I'm going to use a little bit of white. This is an Artistro extra fine tip white paint pen, which I find is better than the gel ones. I've got one of my Poetique pens out here, brush pens. This is called Pine Tree Green, which I thought was appropriate, and I might use some of that. And this is the same Winsor & Newton fine liner in sepia, and this is a 0.3, so it's a bit thicker than that one, but it's all very unimportant as to what you use. Then I've got my Kuretake set, and the reason why I'm using the Kuretake set such a lot this winter is because it has this fantastic range of pre-mixed greens. Now, When I started to learn to paint, I was told by everybody who I came anywhere near, whether it was watercolor, oil, acrylic or whatever, never use pre-mixed greens, always mix your own. And this was drummed into me like, you know, boom, boom, boom. You must never use pre-mixed greens. So for the first 50 years of my life, I did never use pre-mixed greens. However, when I discovered this Kuretake set, these Gansai Tambi paints, what I noticed immediately was that there is an advantage to pre-mixed greens. And that's why I've been using them a lot this year, because it's like I've been liberated from the need to mix all my colors before I can paint. And that was, I think, holding back my creativity. So I don't have much of it. So I need to nurture what little creativity I do have. And if I feel I can be liberated and more creative with a range of pre-mixed greens, darn it, I'm going to use pre-mixed greens. So I'm sorry, all you previous generation to me teachers who told me that I had to always mix. You do, if you're doing a traditional landscape, if you're doing something like the sort of work that James Fletcher Watson and you know, what's his name, this kind of thing, hang on a second, this kind of thing, Orwin Crawshaw, he's, you know, this is actually not got any paintings in it, but this kind of painting, if you can do that kind of painting, then you probably shouldn't use pre-mixed greens because they don't really work so well. But anyway, that's enough of that. Shut up, Diane. What I'm going to do now, I'll just put these out of the way, is I'm going to paint some rough squares on this piece of paper using my pre-mixed greens. And I think I might use my cat's tongue brush just because it wants to work out. Oh, talking about these brushes, we just heard from Craftamo today. The second batch is going to be released on the 18th of December, which means that they might not be with you if you've ordered some. They might not be with you for Christmas. So if that's the case, I'm sorry about that. There's nothing we can do. They'll be with you when they're with you. So some people might get them straight away, because I know a few people got them almost immediately after they were released in November. Other people have waited a little while. If you've pre-ordered and paid and everything, they should be with you the week after that, so you might get them before Christmas. Anyway, though, the thing is, the second edition, which is the second and last edition, has had to be increased. The number has had to be increased because they're sold out. And so if you want these brushes, it's best to order them soon, because otherwise you won't be able to buy them. You'll have to wait until next year. That is to say, probably 2025, before we do another set of different ones, and they won't be the same anyway. So totally up to you. I'm just letting you know. And we're really pleased about that, because we're happy that Craftamo is happy with us. So one cat's tongue brush. This is a 3/4 inch cat's tongue. It has quite a nice point. It's flat when you look at it that way on, and it's broad, or it's narrow when you look at it that way on, and it's broad when you look at it that way on. It's got a nice point, so it's quite good for painting leaves and petals and flowers and all that sort of stuff. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to paint some squares. So I'm sorry, brush, if this is not going to be very exciting for you. And I'm just going to do them very loosely, picking up, first of all, I'm going to go through the greens. I like to go through the greens. So we'll pick up the first one, which is greenish yellow, and then, I'm going to pick up lime, and just relax and paint these squares coming down your sheet. So number 4 is sap green light. You learn a lot by doing this, because this is hooker's green. You'll notice that the different pigments behave somewhat differently on the paper. This is olive. Hello, Olive. How are you today? This is olive. This is malachite, which is probably more, what's the word, opaque than some of the others. This is sap green deep. And the idea of this is just to enjoy it, actually, mostly, because I'm too old now not to do anything I don't enjoy. So, you know, that's, yes, Sap Green Deep. This is Forest Crump. See, that's what happens. That's what's called instant karma. We'll just dab some of that out because that was too much. Forest had been getting excited there. Just keep that one nice and small. Then we've got Viridian. You see, that's interesting, isn't it? How different that one behaves. And then this one, which is turquoise. And then I might go down here and just fill in this space a little bit here with a bit more of the yellowish green, greenish yellow, and perhaps a little bit here. But that I'm now going to let dry, or I'm going to put the hairdryer on it and make it dry. And then I'm going to come in with the same brush probably, and a piece of tissue paper is very useful for cleaning your brush before you wash it out, to keep the water clean longer, and also to dab out excess paint if you think you've gone a bit over the top, so to speak. Okay, so that needs to dry. And then at this point you could do all sorts of different things. But what I also need to talk about actually is, because we were talking about gold paint, right, gold paint, yes. This is the Finetech Calero made in Germany set. This is pretty good. And I was trying to find my set of Kuretake gold paints, and I can't find them. I don't know what I've done with them, but that's also very good. And I'll put links to both of those in the description below. And then if you want to lash out a little bit more and spend a little bit more money, the Etcher set, which I've also got, is unbeatable, really, at the end of the day. It makes a good gift. It looks nicer than these, I think, really. But I quite like the big pans because you can get your big brush in there. And I wonder whether people have taken up this offer from Craftmo because the brushes are such good value for money, because for the amount of money that they're asking for them, and you're getting this one and two other really big ones, that one and that one, as well as the smaller ones too. Where have you disappeared? Two brushes. Here's one. Then there's one more which I can't find, which is like this but thinner. Bear with me while I look and can't find it. Anyway, you've seen it before. Oh, of course, I could show you the set. Down there for a minute. This is the set. Somebody wanted to know how big the print was the other day, and it's about this big, so whatever that is. That is 10 by just under 7. So that's the size roughly of the print. And this is the one I couldn't find. It's basically it's a rigger, but it's a quite fat rigger. So it's really good for painting branches and twigs and grasses and anything like that. And they make, I think, a nice gift. So I'm sorry if they're not all going to arrive before Christmas, but we're doing the best we can. Okay, so is this dry yet? Not quite. So what I thought I would do was to use some darker greens and on here to put some sort of leaf designs and things like that. Branches that have a kind of Christmassy theme to them. Oh look, here's a pencil, Exeter Tuition Centre. That was our previous business that we had before COVID, you know. So we could, if we wanted to be, you know, if you wanted to plan it out, you could spend a bit of time drawing some branches of leaves and things, putting them on in the position where you think they would look best. sort of thing. I tend not to bother with that really. And we could do all sorts of Christmassy sorts of things like holly and all that kind of thing, but I don't know about you, but aren't we all getting a little bit tired of that? So what I'm going to do is, I think November is the month for me for doing Christmassy themed things like Christmas cards and so on. And I don't understand about advent calendars. Advent calendars have become absolutely massive over here in France, and I'm sure it's the same the whole world round. And yet, oddly enough, nobody seems to be in any way interested in anything to do with Advent. You know, this is a strange thing, isn't it? I'm going to mix up some of the gold paint while I'm talking. I don't quite understand it. Everybody is buying Advent calendars, or if not buying them, they're making them, but they're making them too late. You're supposed to do it in November because in December, that's when you open the doors on the Advent calendar. And behind the door is another picture. And the traditional ones from Germany, as I understand it, what I was always under the impression was that the children in the household opened the doors and there was a kind of transparent sheet behind so that the light could shine through and they glowed. And you know, they've been around a long time, and in those days children didn't have screens to look at to get their fill of bright lights. So Christmas was something really, really special. I remember it myself when the Christmas tree went up and we got the lights working finally after about 3 days of my father swearing at the bulbs which wouldn't work. Eventually we got the lights to go on and it was like, wow, oh, look at that, isn't that so amazingly pretty? So I always have a Christmas tree every year, even though we don't have any children and my grandchildren are in England, so I never see them. I've got 2 of them, but I don't know them. But anyway, the light, yes. So going back to the Advent calendar, it's supposed to be made in November, and I'm thinking next year, what I'm going to do is and I'm giving away my future secrets here so other people can copy me if they want to, but they don't have to feel obliged because whatever. I'm going to paint in November a scene which will be Christmas based, that is to say traditional Christmas based. It'll either be a nice village covered in snow, or it'll be what do you call it, a stable with a nativity. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do yet, but something like that. And then we will make it into a proper proper Advent calendar that you have, so you can open the doors in December. And some people might be interested to do that with me, and then they can give it to their children and grandchildren and so on and so forth. And I think this is probably dry enough now. So I've mixed up my gold paints so that whichever one I want to choose, I can use. And now I'm going to paint some leaves on here. And as far as what brush I'm going to use, let's give the Princeton Aqua Elite a bit of a run for its money, because this brush, if you haven't got some of mine, this is a very good option. It has a very nice point and it does do very good leaves. So let's go for Olive, maybe. Hello, Olive. Let's go for Olive. And what I want to do is do some fairly dark leaves so that we can embellish them. So we're just going to do loose leaves and practice our leaf painting. So you just do them with 2 strokes, you don't need to do more than that. And then you pick up a little bit of a slightly darker colour, perhaps, and do the little stalks. And if they're wiggly, then that's okay. And then you can drop a little bit more, whichever dark colour. Hello, Forest. Now that's a film to watch for Christmas, isn't it? So we just drop some green in near the bottom, and that will hopefully, if you leave it alone, it'll run a little bit. So then we do another one over here, which will be a little bit darker because we're going to do that one in forest green. It's beautiful painting on this paper because it's so smooth, and it just I really like it, actually, as you might have noticed. And you get lots of back runs and all sorts of splodges and interesting textures because the brushes leave larger amounts of water here and there. And you can actually emphasize that if you take a sharp thing like a pen. You can, this is a dip pen with no ink in it, and if you just scrape into the paint, you'll find that it will make a darker line where you don't necessarily see it straight away, but it will appear like magic. And let's go for some turquoise, maybe down here perhaps. Two-stroke leaves, and then just with the very tip of the brush put in that, and then we'll pick up some dark and just pump it into the bottom of the leaf there, and we'll just get some interesting effects. We don't really know what's going to happen because it all depends on the temperature of the room and the air pressure and whether or not the air conditioning is blowing. I don't know what makes a difference, but you never quite know what's going to happen. And then maybe deep turquoise. Let's put some deep turquoise. Let's put some biggish ones here. And in between, or maybe I'll just do a couple more. I'm going to mix all of that green together. Waste not, want not. Need one to be going this way. A little bit of green pumped in the bottom there. Let that run. And then I'm going to use some very light green to just put some leaf shapes kind of mystically in the background. Just using the light colour, and we'll just see how this works out. And maybe some stems. Okay, and now without wanting to turn the camera off and start to do what? What do I want to do next? Do I want to use brown or black? I think black probably. So what I thought I would do is now put in some branches of, oh, berries, you know. Just have to make sure I don't put my hand in it. And we'll just do some where have my words suddenly vanished to? Some stalks, that's it. Not the berries, just the stalks at the moment. I'm going to do the berries in gold. So we'll do this. This is one of those projects that you could use for any other project, like you could take part of something like this and make it into a Christmas card or a gift tag. You could make a big one and cut it all up. You know, it's a bit wet there, so put one up here perhaps. And you can do as much or as little as you want. So that'll do for that. You could do the berries with pen if you wanted to, or you can use a small brush. Now maybe I'll use the detail brush, which I just recently was given, and we'll see how that works. And if I use quite a lot of water, I can drop them on and let them be quite big, perhaps. We want to use the paint quite thick though, otherwise it's not opaque. So using too much water doesn't really work. But the brush is quite good. And in a minute I'm going to pick up the Fudenasuke brush pen and do some line work over the top of the leaves. And also some gold embellishments. So I think I might have to now stop it for a second and dry it properly. That's nice and dry now, and the question is what to do next. All very difficult to decide. I think I've got a bit of a line there, I'm not sure how that got there. So I've got my Fudenasuke brush pen here, which is nice because it gives you a variety of width of stroke. So when you're practicing, I always do a photocopy, or usually I do, to try things out. So you can get very thin lines and you can get thick lines with the same pen. So that's quite interesting. Very thin actually if you try hard enough. So you can do that, and one of the things I quite like to do is to just sort of go next to, not exactly on, but near, and so I just I don't know, use the green as a kind of guide and just do these quite free shapes which are more leafy than the sketchy ones that are underneath. And then you can do that on, let's say you did that on all of your darker leaves, because you want some kind of coherence in your design. You could. You don't have to do it that way, but if you wanted to, you could. So you'd do that on each one of these leaf motifs. And you try to let your fingers be as free as possible, given, you know, all the limitations of arthritis and cold and all the rest of it. But as best you can, try to let your fingers enjoy the process and be as free as possible. You'll find after you've done a few, you start to get the hang of it. I usually do. I start off a bit stiff and then and this one is debatable as to whether or not to do it, but I think I'm going to leave those ones, not do those in black, but I might do them, could do them in gold, for example. So you could do all sorts of things. You can come in and you can embellish them with gold, which looks really rather nice, like this. And you can put it on top of the black if you want, or you can just put it inside like that. And another thing you can do is you can always add another empty leaf if you feel that you've not filled the space well enough. And then you can use your white pen as well to embellish these ones. I'm just putting lines on one side of each leaf. And the centre vein as well, perhaps. There we are. And now this one, perhaps, what we could do up here is we could do some spirals on here, which would be quite nice. I was thinking about putting holly leaves, but I find holly, you know, you need holly, but it's very prickly, and in terms of art as well, it can be very difficult to make a painting that's got holly in it look good. There's a lot of paint there, so I'll just try and use it here. Okay, so then I need to do something with these light ones. So I was thinking I would do them in white. I think perhaps, yeah, perhaps I will. Perhaps I'll encourage this pen. There we are. And this way, the sort of slightly, well, I could say very relaxed background leaves that you've done very quickly with your brush, they take form, they become more shapely when you come in with the white. So we can do some more here if we want some extras. And this could be another spiral. But this one probably could do with some, let's do some white dots on this one. Okie doke. Now let me think, do we need anything else? I think that looks reasonably balanced. I'm probably going to put it like this on the thumbnail. I don't know. Oh yeah, this one might want some white as well. Shall we? We haven't done one line. Let's put one line down the side of these ones here. Just showing you different ways that you can embellish these and have fun. It's not compulsory to have fun. It's optional. But you can be very serious about it if you want to be. You don't have to be, you know, having fun all the time. It's not obligatory. But I think that will do. And I think that's probably good enough for now. Did you enjoy that? I hope so. Do leave a comment in the space below. Don't forget to go and have a look at the description below as well, and there you'll find links to the different things that I've used to help you in your journey to finding fulfillment and enjoyment in your art process. So wishing you all the best for the rest of the week. Hope you're all well and happy, and I'll say bye-bye for now, everybody. I need to go and feed the birds. Bye everyone, bye-bye.